So the first topic is very relevant to what's
Yes.
going on now,
Yes, it
and
is.
it's developers who work from home.
All right. So, by the way, guys, if at any point we either lag or something on the screen doesn't show, please let us know. We've been really good and haven't had a ton of technical issues for the forum so far.
Yeah, knock on wood, cross
Knock
our
on wood,
fingers.
cross our fingers, burn the voodoo dolls, etc.,
Right.
etc. So this article here is a little dated, but since we are starting off with working from home as a developer, this is actually a good place to start.
Right, a little bit of a history lesson. So this article is from April of last year, when the pandemic first started, basically, for the United States. And a lot of people were moving away from the workplace and working from home as we had shutdowns.
Because of that awful pandemic that is still happening.
Yeah, but it was a panic back then.
It was a huge panic.
So, in the game industry, it was no different. Offices and studios shut down their physical locations, and everyone moved to home.
Yeah.
And to working from home setups. In that there was since then there's been a big learning curve.
A huge learning curve. A lot of people aren't used to the work from home model. They're used to working in an office, especially in the game development industry, where you get up, you go talk to Bob in audio, and then you go talk to Jim over in modeling.
Right.
You move, or you have your meetings in your conference rooms where you go over your daily agile goals, whatever.
That's right.
Your scrum goals. And that's different now. At least it was back then. I do like this. The Verge, this is the article. They spoke with 10 different developers. Some of them were anonymous, some were not. But they basically interviewed these people. And these people were telling their thoughts on, such as this guy here, the director of insights of League of Legends. For him, it was business as usual. But was it that way with everyone?
No, people had different experience. Some
Yeah.
people really took to it. They got the tools they needed, and they worked from home, and their productivity was the same, or in some cases, it increased.
It increased.
With the lack of distractions. Other people didn't do so well.
Right.
They encountered equipment issues and logistics issues, and some had to download different software to even communicate.
Yeah, like Microsoft Teams, for
Teams
example.
or Zoom or stuff
Right.
like that. So it was challenging.
It was. There was definitely a hurdle, like Teal said, a learning curve that had to be overcome before any of this could be made into a process. And that's one of the things that anyone who's ever worked in the industry knows. Processes are a huge deal. If you don't have your project management and your processes,
Yeah.
you're going to gum up. You're going to go over budget. You're going to go over time, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like for example, this, in real life catches on. Jesse Snyder, right here, the creative director for a small indie studio, has a family. Their daughter was in kindergarten. She also was affected by the pandemic. Schools as well as businesses were shut down. So Jesse here, he had to balance parenting.
Yeah, he did.
As well as working. And for some people, that is a stark transition.
Yeah.
Perhaps even a little too difficult.
So that's where we were at. And since that time, in the year and a half since this article came out, a lot of companies have worked through it.
Yes.
And the results, we're going to go into another article that talks about the results of this 18 months of learning and coping and doing. But it's good to know where we came from, just the absolute mayhem that was the shutdown.
And that's the thing, too, to understand is a lot of businesses have gone either to a partial virtual work environment, which is working from home, or full-time. There's a CEO I follow on Twitter, Dan Price. He's a Seattle-based CEO of a company. He went to a full 100% work from home model. People only go into the office if they want to or if they need to. Otherwise, they work from home. And his productivity for his company, he's the guy who took like the $1 million cut to give all of his employees a minimum salary of $70,000. That's why he's popular.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
He is one of a few voices. But the fact of the matter is that his business, which isn't even in the game industry, took a hint that productivity can increase when you're working from home.
But as Burke points out, the expense was raised significantly for people. As I say, some people had to buy new equipment or better equipment. And then, yes, there's the power consumption. Game development rigs, they do suck power.
They do suck power.
And are you getting reimbursed by the company? Well, some people were and some people weren't.
Now remember this, guys. There's a difference between being an employee, and a contractor here in the United States. And if you are forced to furnish all of your own equipment, you start passing over into contractor territory. If you're an employee, then the company should be providing some, if not all, of the equipment. So unfortunately, this pandemic also stretched that.
Yeah, and let me just say this: there's a couple people in this article that they talked about the big expense that their company incurred by buying everybody computers, and keyboards and mice and furnishing all the equipment they needed. So one lady in particular, she said that, well, we've got double the equipment. We've got people had the equipment at home, and then you got the equipment in the office.
Yeah.
And it was a big expense that companies had to foot.
Right, because of that line between contractor and employee, which you do not want to cross that line here in the U.S. The government will smack your ass. I know that, like, for example, Teal and I, prior to the pandemic, were both consultants. That was our main job. So we both worked from home for ourselves, basically as independent contractors. And that changed after the pandemic. Now, I'm the one who works from home, and Teal has a day job.
Yeah.
Which is, she's an employee for someone else. So the dynamic has changed. But I guess in this regard, we're kind of used to this. We're used to what it means to work from home.
But not everybody was.
Not everyone was.
And KB wishes that they could work from home.
Well, I want to say this before we move on. For those of you who want to work from home, it comes from there's a different set of challenges. Don't think that just because you work from home, you have it easy. Your self-scheduling and self-discipline has to be through the roof.
Yep.
Otherwise, you will fall behind. You will miss your milestones. You will miss your quotas if you have any. And you're either going to end up unemployed or irrelevant, which is just as bad. So
you really do have to have good time management. And as I learned, for heaven's sakes, get out of your office.
Oh, yes.
When you're done working for the day or you're done with your sprint, get up and leave your office and go elsewhere.
Yeah, we talked about that in a previous podcast.
Yeah.
I do my 90-minute sprints, which is I work really hard on a single task for 90 minutes. Then I stop that task hard stop, save my files, take a 30-minute break doing something recreational. Maybe I browse social media, watch a YouTube video, go downstairs and get some coffee. Not related to work. Then I hit another 90-minute sprint, etc. At between 4 and 5, depending on when my workday starts, I stop.
Yeah.
I only go into my office to either work or to play VR. That's it. I don't use my office for anything else.
And see, that's a stride that you discovered.
Yes.
Yeah, and a lot of people went through that very thing of discovering their stride.